Okay, there. Let me come to Amy Gallagher. Welcome to the show. Thanks very much indeed for being here. Mayoral candidate, we should mention, by association. Everybody has got some experience with cancer. I mean, it's a much more talked about disease now than it was. You worked in the NHS, which we may get onto later on. But how have you found the way that people have reacted to this story?
Yeah, I think what we know is that cancer diagnoses are on the rise, unfortunately, in the country, and there's a huge backlog of people waiting for treatment. I think, as you say, the word cancer brings up all sorts of things in people's minds. Most people have experienced a friend or a family member with cancer. I think people already felt a lot of sympathy and compassion for King Charles in the way that he was treated by Prince Harry in relation to allegations of racism and not being a very good father. I think people will feel sympathy and compassion again today, but for obviously very different reasons. And it may well be that people feel closer to him as a king, actually, in terms of him being very open about his vulnerabilities and his experiences.
Yeah, I think. But it shows you that, you know, no matter what you do, you're going to be exposed to this kind of disease.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen in the last year he's been a very active king. And he looks, as Rafe says, he looks very well. I think people are quite surprised to find out that he's 75. I think people often think he's a lot younger than that. But yeah, it can affect anybody, especially at that age. But as Rafe says, it's not a death sentence, and it doesn't necessarily mean that he might be able to carry on just fine, and he might, with treatment, be fine. So we need to remember that.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, when these things happen, we were talking earlier with some of the other guests, it does bring into focus either your own kind of relationship with the royal family or your own kind of feelings about the country, I think. And I know a lot of people will say, well, I don't know why you keep making a big deal about it. You know, not everybody cares about the royal family. But I think most people have a relationship with the royal family, particularly over the last year since the late Queen died.
I think it does affect the mood of the nation to some degree. I think we're obviously living in quite turbulent, uncertain times, and I think this will add to that. King Charles's reign has already been quite turbulent, what with Prince Harry and with you know, lots of changes in prime ministers and so on. And I think this will just end up leaving people to feel like things are even more uncertain. And as you say, I think a cancer diagnosis for a lot of people can sharpen their focus a bit. It can mean that they end up reflecting on their life, reflecting on their future, on their legacy, and it may well be that it has the same effect for Charles to do that. And it also makes you think about your family. And we know that he hasn't seen his grandchildren, Archie and Lilibet, for some time. He's obviously estranged from Prince Harry. Many people are left wondering what's going to happen to their relationship, and it may well be that this is the thing that reconciles them.
I mean, Amy, you were in the NHS, as we said before, and this is probably not the time to go through that whole story, but we'll get you back to do that, I promise, because we would have done that earlier on. But a lot of people say that the real problem inside the NHS, in terms of people getting access to what they want, is that their priorities are all wrong, that they think about you know, making sure they're doing things in the right way as far as their, you know, diversity claims are going to be put together and all of that stuff, which gets priority instead of just clinicians being able to see more people.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's more and more money being poured into the NHS every year. It's a complete myth that the Tories have cut spending on the NHS. It's increased, but the quality has unfortunately gone down. It's not about money, it's about the way it's being spent. It's mismanagement. We see it's, you know, working in the NHS, I see a lot of management and administrative roles that really aren't necessary, actually, and you wouldn't really miss them if they were gone. And as you said, we see advertisements for diversity and equity officers that are six-figure salaries, and all the while, you know, frontline staff are leaving, and there's a high turnover of frontline staff. People moving overseas, people not wanting to work in the NHS anymore. So it is a real crisis, and I think, you know, it does speak to that, as Cindy was saying, the inequality that we assume King Charles will get the best possible treatment, but there are over 7 million people waiting for treatments on the NHS now, and there is a large backlog of cancer treatments who will be watching King Charles and you know, feeling some, you know, similarity with him, but also in other ways not.
Yes, exactly right. Amy, I don't think people want that, do they? I don't think people in this country, even those who are not particularly fond of the royal family, they don't want it to become this sort of cycling Danish royal
No,
look, do they?
people have had enough of it. I mean, I think it's nice that hopefully if Prince Harry comes over, there won't be any of this controversy or any of, hopefully he'll behave himself. And I think most people will welcome that. People don't want this endless psychodrama of Prince Harry's,
No, people are fed up
in a
with
psyche. No. And I think, hopefully Meghan will, I mean, we know often when the attention is on the royals, she can often do publicity stunts, which some people interpret as trying to take attention away from them. Hopefully she will behave as well. And it might be nice to see them not having that kind of a drama, hopefully.
Yeah, it might be. The Times has got the King has cancer, and they've got that picture of him, as I say, in that